Smart of money. He brought the stock of the Sharp's Big 50 to his shoulder, thumbed back the hammer, and pressed his finger against the trigger. Right between the eyes, he told himself, let out a breath, and started to squeeze. "Coady, what the Sam Hill are you doing?" 12-year-old Coady McIlvain dropped the tobacco stick and jerked to his feet, brushing off his trousers and looking sheepish in his mother's garden as he found his watching father. He felt the rushing blood, knew he was blushing from embarrassment, as his pa just shook his head and said, "Beans ain't going to get planted that way, son. Best hurry up and finish, 'cause I got another chore to saddle on you once you've done here." Coady mumbled a, "Yes, sir," and dropped his head as his father strode away. Caught daydreaming again. Confound the luck. Playing buffalo hunter rather than dropping seeds in Kansas earth. At best, this evening his sisters would bedevil him till bedtime after hearing Pa tell Mama about the incident. At worst, Pa would tan his hide in the barn before washing up for supper and scold Coady for slacking off with his chores. Come to think of it, a whipping might be better than hearing those demonic snickers from his sisters. He grabbed the sack of bean seeds in his left hand, the tobacco stick in his right, and started walking, head still down, between the recently plowed rows. Methodically, he used one end of the well-cured stick to poke holes in the fresh sod, into which he dropped a few seeds, then covered them with his dusty brogans. As far back as he could remember, the tobacco stick had been both tool and toy. He could recall the hot days in Scotland County, North Carolina, when his father, uncles, and older nephews would work the fields. A handful of workers chopped down the stalks, split them with a small knife to a few inches above the base, and tossed them to the side. Others loaded 7 or 8 stalks onto each stick, securing them with twine before hauling the load to the barn to be hung and flue-cured. Hard, sweaty, messy work, but Coady, too young to participate in the fields and barn, certainly admired those tobacco sticks, 4 feet long or more, hard as iron from years in the fields and hot curing barns. He grabbed a stick when he was 4 years old, used it to beat down weeds, make noise, dig holes. Once he even clobbered a bobcat that got into a little row with the family dog, Fletcher. That had been after the war. The recent unpleasantness, his mother called it. Coady was too young to remember anything about the war between the states. Brent McIlvain had worn the gray, serving with the PD rifles, and Coady never met his father until after Robert E. Lee surrendered to now President Ulysses S. Grant. Back home, McIlvain hung up his rifle, except for hunting, and started with the plow again as if nothing had happened. Cotton remained the king cash crop in the South, but the McIlvains couldn't do much on 32 acres, about half of that piney woods. So they grew tobacco, cured it in the barn, and hauled it across the border to Chiraw to sell, keeping just enough for the menfolk to turn into plugs to be chewed or stuffed in their pipes, or later, once cigarettes became fashionable, rolled in store-bought papers or thin corn husks. Brent McIlvain never spoke of the war, but, like many former Confederates, he brooded, watching carpetbaggers and the Reconstruction government make things tight for Southerners. The soil was playing out, and after 2 consecutive failed crops, McIlvain looked west. The late Mr. Lincoln's Homestead Act of 1862 allowed citizens, or intended citizens, to lay claim to any unclaimed, surveyed public land up to 160 acres. All they had to do was pay a pittance upon registering and work and improve the land for 5 years. A quarter section must have seemed like half the world to a poor Carolina sodbuster trying to make a living on 32 acres of worn-out sand, so in the spring of 1868, Brent McIlvain sold his farm to his brother-in-law, Silas Coady, loaded up a rickety old farm wagon, and lit a shot for Kansas. They settled about 15 miles northeast of Fort Dodge, the new post that had been established at the end of the war on the Arkansas River to guard the Santa Fe Trail. Western Kansas, a gently rolling expanse of prairie with nary a tree to block that bitter winter wind or blistering summer sun, felt, looked, and acted nothing like southern North Carolina. It took a while for the McIlvains to adjust, except Brent McIlvain, who, with tobacco farming out of the question in this climate, immediately began clearing fields and learning all he could about growing hay and wheat. The rest of the family clung to their southern ties. Cody's mother brought the family Bible, pretty much keeping it clutched against her chest during the 1,400-mile trek. His sisters, Lois, 2 years older, and Fay, 5 years older, brought their favorite dolls. James Coady McIlvain, then only 7, grabbed a tobacco stick. Imagination could transform that rough-hewn piece of timber into anything: saber or stallion, fishing pole or spyglass, banjo or rifle. As the years passed, the family grew to like their new surroundings. Most of them, that is. His mother, Liz, still read the Bible daily, but no longer called Scotland County home. Home had become a sod house and hard-scrabble barn in Ford County. Lois and Fay had new dolls, and Brent McIlvain sold hay and grain to the Army at Fort Dodge and did a mite of trading in the bawdy town that had sprung up nearby. Coady had also forgotten much about North Carolina, but he kept his tobacco stick. Today it had been a .50-caliber Sharps rifle, now demoted to a hoe. He sighed. Coady always dreaded farm work. 12-year-olds wanted adventure, not the drudgery to be found milking cows, planting gardens, reaping hay, or pounding his stick against his father's hay rake. Lately his appetite had been whetted by a handful of thin novels published by Beadle's Half-Dime Library. Earlier that spring, a traveler on the Santa Fe Trail had dropped by the McIlvain homestead, looking for a contrary mule that had run off. Coady and his father helped the man find the Jenny, and, as payment, although Cody's father said there was no need, the stranger left behind a handful of 5-penny dreadfuls. His father didn't hold much truck with fiction, especially the muck churned out by Beadle's hacks, and frowned upon the gift, especially when Coady started devouring them. According to the law of Brent McIlvain, the boy should bury his nose in a McGuffey's reader, but Cody's mother thought it good that her son read so eagerly. As long as he did his chores and read a passage from the Bible each night, along with the McGuffey's school books, Coady could read all about Buffalo Bill Cody's adventures. The Haunted Valley, or A Leaf from a Hunter's Life, Kansas King, or The Red Right Hand, The Pearl of the Prairies, or The Scout and the Renegade. All of them managed to take Coady far from the McIlvain farm. He would finish one and light into another, rereading them till he knew plots and dialogue by heart. His favorite was Deadly Eye, or The Unknown Scout, in which William F. Buffalo Bill Cody detailed various hunting expeditions in Kansas, killing buffalo after buffalo with a .50-caliber Springfield rifle he named Lucretia Borgia, and his shooting match in Omaha against The Unknown Scout, a legendary buffalo runner who never missed with his Sharps Big 50. Now, Coady McIlvain loved Buffalo Bill Cody. After all, they carried the same name, although spelled differently. Coady had been christened with his mother's maiden name, Coady. And he absolutely believed everything Buffalo Bill wrote to be the gospel truth. The Unknown Scout, however, and his Sharps rifle simply mesmerized the young boy. His dad had carried a Sharps in the war, even said, in one of his rare stories about the unpleasantness, he plucked it off a dead Yankee and hung it over the front door of their home, but plow handles fit his hands better than a long-barreled rifle, and the weapon had been left behind with Cody's Uncle Silas. By that spring of 1873, Dodge City had started to boom with buffalo hunters, called runners, out on the Kansas plains. And the Sharps rifle was fast becoming their weapon of choice. Indians said the gun could shoot today and kill tomorrow, and it definitely packed a wallop. In Deadly Eye, or The Unknown Scout, after tying the Scout in the shooting match in Omaha, Buffalo Bill takes to the border with the Unknown Scout, and they go after buffalo. After each sharpshooter has dropped 276 buffalo without a miss, the great borderman kills number 207.